Alrighty guys, we are officially back on DCU Casting Watch, and now we have another starring member of the DCU joining this expanding universe as we gear up for Superman in just about 3 weeks, which is very, very exciting. So, we officially have the announcement that Tom RHYS HARRIES is going to be playing none other than the titular role of Clayface. This has been reported by all of the major trades, so Deadline, Hollywood Reporter, etc. And I'm going to read a little bit from this article from Deadline, and then we'll talk about it on the other side. So, headline, Tom RHYS HARRIES lands Clayface role in DC Studios' Clayface, directed by James Watkins. The beginning here, it's what we know. When it came to casting the lead in DC Studios' next big movie, Clayface, the studio went with a fresh face, that being Welsh actor Tom RHYS HARRIES. He was known for being in the Apple TV series Suspicion, and this is interesting because this has been reported and leaked and rumored for a while, but he beat out a competitive list of British thespians that included 28 years later Jack O'Connell, The Hunger Games, The Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, Tom Blythe, and 1917's George McKay. So a lot of talented actors here, but the article is right. They went with a relative unknown. I haven't seen Suspicion yet, so I really have zero familiarity with Tom RHYS HARRIES, but I'm sure that after this announcement, a lot of people are going to be go check out the TV show Suspicion. But I think that this is an interesting move because not because of Tom RHYS HARRIES himself, but because it indicates one thing in particular, and that is that Clayface will have a human form, is what I'm assuming. Now, the other alternative is that there will, it'll be just Tom RHYS HARRIES playing motion capture for the most part, and then maybe we see the actual human being in flashback scenes and whatnot. But to me, what this indicates is that Clayface, the character, will have a more permanent human side to him. Because one of the interesting things about Clayface is that you could have gotten 10 different actors to play Clayface. 10 different people, actors, actresses, anybody. You could have gotten anybody, because Clayface, right? If you've watched Harley Quinn, that's really where I know Clayface from. But also he appeared briefly in Creature Commandos. But where we know Clayface, what we know Clayface can do is impersonate people and transform into different people. Actually, he did that in Creature Commandos. I forget who he was impersonating, but he was impersonating somebody, some professor, I think, in Creature Commandos. And so that's the interesting thing, is that Clayface could be any number of people. In fact, they could have cast 10 A-list actors and have had them playing one character. So I think it's interesting that we land on Tom RHYS HARRIES. And who knows, maybe in the coming weeks we'll get announcements of, and also Tom Blythe is playing Clayface, and also X actor is playing Clayface, and also X actor is playing Clayface. So I don't know. But I think it is interesting that we do get a quote-unquote home base for Clayface, because, again, with these shape-shifting kind of characters, you never know. And I'm sure we still will, even with Tom RHYS HARRIES playing the quote-unquote permanent version of Clayface, I'm sure we still will get a lot of shenanigans. And it's horror-based, right? So I'm sure that there will be a lot of creepy and crazy things that Clayface turns into to terrify his victims or whatnot. But I think that, this gives us a sense, that there is going to be a face behind the Clayface, if you will. That didn't make any sense, but hopefully you guys get the gist. So very interesting, and also again, it's to me this film is endlessly interesting to me because of how quickly it got fast-tracked, right? We were all thinking, okay, Superman and then Supergirl, which is now called Supergirl, not Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. That didn't seem like big enough news to make a whole segment about, but there it is. So Superman, Supergirl. And then, I kind of thought, okay, are they going to do Authority, or are they going to do, Wonder Woman maybe comes next? Or, no, of course, Batman, Brave and the Bold. And I thought, okay, there are a whole lot of films. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this Clayface film shows up, and Clayface showed up already. He was in the first DCU project of being Creature Commandos, and so you kind of thought, okay, so maybe Clayface does have a more significant role to play in the DCU than we originally thought. Who knows? But I think it's all super interesting to see that how quickly all this is coming together. This film is going to come out in, I think, October 2026, so it's actually going to come out much sooner than we think. And I think that that's something to look forward to as well, that this is getting off the ground. So guys, do you have any thoughts about Tom RHYS HARRIES playing Clayface? And if you don't, because maybe none of you have heard of him, I certainly didn't hear of him before hearing about this news, what do you think of the idea that, do you think Clayface is going to have one human form in particular that he gravitates towards, or perhaps, that is the person that became Clayface after transforming into Clayface? Or do you think that there still will be a lot of different other personas and people playing Clayface as well? Let me know in the comments down below.